I refused to show my salary to my husband, and I bitterly regretted it. Leave me alone. Just leave me alone already. I threw my phone onto the couch with such force that it bounced before falling to the floor. The screen went dark, but I knew Artyom would call me back in a minute. For the 10th time that evening, "Are you yelling at your husband?" my mother-in-law called out from the kitchen, with that dry, disdainful tone that always made me tense up. In my day, women knew how to stay in their place. I turned toward them, feeling the heat rise to my face. "Your time has been over for a long time. And by the way, when do you finally plan to leave our house?" Valentina Petrovna slowly wiped her hands on a dish towel. She always did this gesture before starting her moral lessons. 72 years old, with an overwhelming energy, a presence that suffocated everything in its path. "I'm helping my son," she replied coldly. "Someone simply has to bring some real order to this place, especially since you spend your entire life at work." A career woman, she slowly pronounced that specific word as if it were a bitter insult. I had to bite my lip hard just so I wouldn't suddenly explode. Now, 4 months earlier, everything was different. Artyom and I lived in a small rented apartment. We only argued about who would do the dishes, and we still talked about vacations, plans, and the future. I worked as a manager in an IT company with a good salary, 180,000 rubles net per month. Artyom earned a little less at an advertising agency. Then he lost his job and everything started to fall apart. At first, he just asked me for a little money to make his resume, or so he said. Then, for paid training courses. Next, to buy a suit for interviews. I gave him 20,000 rubles, then 30,000, and then more. After a while, I stopped keeping track. 2 months later, his mother temporarily moved in with us to help her son. As we went through this difficult period, temporary became permanent. "You'd be better off taking care of your home instead of running around everywhere," my mother-in-law continued, as she took out of the fridge the yogurt gratin I had prepared for the whole week. Artyom would have had better luck if he had married Jean. At least she cooks for herself. Jean, her friend's daughter, 23 years old. She still lives with her parents and works in a cosmetics shop. For my mother-in-law, she was the perfect embodiment of femininity. I didn't reply. These past few months had taught me to keep quiet. The door slammed. Artyom had just come home. From his heavy footsteps. From the way he threw his keys onto the dresser, I immediately understood that he was in a foul mood. "Hi," he mumbled without even looking at me. "So, how did your interview go?" I asked cautiously. "Normal." "And what did they say?" "That they'd call me back." "Why do you keep pushing?" I sighed. It was always like this now. Before, he used to tell me everything about his work, his ideas, his colleagues, his doubts. Now, every word seemed to have to be forced out of him. "Artyom, come eat," his mother said immediately as she set the table. "I made cutlets and you, Veronica, don't be a bother." I stood in the middle of the living room in this apartment that I had been paying for alone for 2 months, and suddenly I felt like a stranger in my own home. "I need to talk to you," I said softly to Artyom. "Later. No, now. It's important." He finally looked up at me. In his eyes, there was fatigue, annoyance, and something else. Something I wasn't ready yet to name. "Go ahead, say what you have to say. If it's about my mother again, that's not the point." "Artyom, I need to know. When are you going to start seriously looking for a job again?" He sat up abruptly as if I had just slapped him. "So, you think I'm doing nothing?" "I think that in 3 months you've had 5 interviews." 5. Artyom, my colleague Sveta had 10 interviews in a single week when she was looking for a job. Your colleague Sveta is a lucky idiot. Her parents have always made everything easy for her, he shouted. And you, what are you doing? I cut him off, feeling my patience running out. You just lie on the couch? You play video games? You complain to your mother about what a horrible wife I am? I am currently speaking with my husband, and frankly, this is absolutely none of your business. My poor dear Artyom is already suffering quite enough as it is right now, and your constant interference is only serving to make things much worse for him. He's sensitive, fragile. He's 34 years old, he's not a child, Mom. Leave us alone, said Artyom. Through clenched teeth, his mother shot me a dark look and left, clearly offended. We were left alone. Veronica, I can't take you anymore, he said in a weary voice. I'm trying, I'm looking, but the job market is tough. The market was already tough 3 months ago, and yet people are still finding jobs. You haven't even updated your resume properly. How do you know that? Are you spying on me? I stayed silent. Yes, I had checked his online profile. Last update 2 months ago. I just need a little more time, he murmured. Time? My savings are dwindling, Artyom. I'm paying the rent alone, the food, your expenses, your mother's, everything. We were supposed to be saving for a down payment on a house, remember? And today I have less money than I did 6 months ago. He looked away. Sorry, that's all. Sorry, no plan, no solution, no commitment. At that moment, I realized he didn't intend to change anything. The next day, I made a decision. I opened a new bank account at another bank and asked my payroll department to deposit my salary there. I left only a small amount in my old account. 30,000 rubles, just enough for visible expenses, clothes, cosmetics, transportation, small purchases. The rest would be mine, my money, my safety net. I didn't tell anyone about it, not my partner, not my friends. It was my secret, my protection. But I hadn't realized that Artyom was already monitoring my finances much more closely than I imagined. The first 2 weeks passed without incident. I even felt a kind of relief. For the first time in a long while, I once again had something that truly belonged to me. In my new account, I had already accumulated 150,000 rubles. I even started looking at studios where I could move if the situation became unbearable. But Artyom changed. He suddenly became more attentive. He would ask me where I had been, who I had talked to, what I had bought. I chalked it up to his jealousy, his stress, his pain. I was so blind. Everything blew up on a Friday night. When I got home from work, I immediately sensed that something was wrong. The silence was too heavy. Artyom was sitting at the table, and in front of him was my new bank card. The one I had hidden. Where did you find it? I asked, frozen. In your bag, he replied calmly. Did you really think I wouldn't notice anything? The salary was paid a week ago. There were only 30,000 left in the old account. So, where did the rest go, Veronica? My heart started beating so hard, I could hear the pulses in my ears. He had rummaged through my bag. He searched on purpose. It's my money, I managed to say. Our money, he corrected. We're a family, or did you forget that?